Hello everyone, Ashley here with Ashley Told in the Art. Thank you for joining today. We're going to be talking about commissions. Are they worth it? If you look up this topic on YouTube, you will see that there are numerous perspectives on commissions, and there are some absolute horror stories when it comes to them. So let's talk about it. Are they worth it? Is it something that you should be doing? How can you do it safely? And more. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Man, people have some absolute horror stories with commissions. I have to say that I'm actually one of the lucky ones where I don't really have any horrendous horror stories when it comes to commissions, but I think there are a few things that I do that mitigate and protect me from scenarios like that. So let's talk about it. Let's go back in time. I would say that one of the worst commission experiences I've had, which wasn't that bad, but there was one when I was very, very first starting out, and a client came to me and they said, essentially they told me they wanted me to paint their horse however I wanted, in my style. And I was like, cool, absolute freedom. Little did I know. That's a red flag. What ended up happening was I did the painting, I didn't do any check-ins with them, and when it was complete, I was like, okay, painting's complete, now you can just pay me, and here's your painting. And they were very polite. They paid for it. Granted, I wasn't charging that much at this point, but they paid for it, and you could tell they were not happy with the artwork. Like, I felt so bad, but I also really needed the money. So I didn't give them any money back. Again, I was charging so little too that I was just like, oh, I kind of need the money. But the things that I learned from that one experience, I have taken with me from then on, and I think have eliminated that from happening again, because the last thing you want is someone to be unhappy with your artwork. So after that experience, one of the first things I did was create an outline for people as far as how the process is going to go for them and for me. So I wrote up something that explained, you send me references, I'll create a digital image, which I then send to you. We double check, we get everything kind of set up digitally. That's our first check-in, is making sure the digital image is what you want it to look like. From then, I will go into the initial sketch on Canvas, which after that's complete, I also send them a photo of to check in. And then we go into the painting where I break down, block-in phase, rendering phase, detail phase, blah, blah, blah. Making a clear outline of what the customer can expect, I think, is incredibly helpful. The other thing that you maybe got from that was check-ins. I check in frequently with my clients, more so in the beginning, and I make this very clear. In the digital and sketching phase, that's when we change things. That's when we make sure everything looks good. That's when easy changes are made. I put a lot of effort into the beginning stages to make sure that we already know what the painting is going to look like by the end. As the painting goes on, I check in with them a little bit less, just because they basically already know what it looks like. So maybe what you gathered from this, the other important thing, I think, is a contract. Having a very clear, good contract that protects you as the artist, that encompasses all of the things that you need to be in there. When I start the commission process with someone, once we kind of figure out that we are going to be a good match, I have them sign a contract that explains payment, that outlines, again, the process, that explains that at a certain point, you're not allowed to change things. And if you do want to change things, it nulls the agreement and we basically start over, give or take, It's in there to be dramatic so that it protects me, but it allows me the right to, if it's an easy fix, it's an easy fix or an easy change. But it protects me from having someone at detail phase be like, no, I don't like that. Let's redo the whole right side of the canvas. Or if that is the case, then like I'm allowed to charge extra for that. But just having a really clear contract that explains the agreement, the process, the payment plans, the pricing, and what happens if things don't go as planned. The other thing I do to protect myself is I require a 50% deposit up front. I think there's different times that you can do this. I tend to be the most comfortable with charging people after the digital stuff is done, because there are people that charge before they do any amount of work for them. But in some instances, I like charging after the digital mock-up, because then I know that I'm capable of doing this painting correctly. If it's something that I'm not super confident with doing, going through the phase of like the size and then the color and the composition and all of that, I can make sure that when I'm doing that, it's something that I feel like I am capable of doing. If I'm not, no money has been spent. No one's out anything. I'm just out a little bit of time, but at that point, I also probably learned a lot in the process, but I haven't had to do that yet. I use the digital phase as a chance for me to decide if it's the right fit. And if it is, then I have them pay the 50% non-refundable deposit, and then we carry on. The last half of the payment is done at the end of the painting process. So after it's varnished and before I ship it out, they pay the last bit. Between all of those things, I think you can mitigate a lot of issues when it comes to commissions, which seems to be people's biggest problem. I would say the last thing that I do is that if someone comes to me, and I have had one person that just seemed a little difficult, and my gut instinct said something feels off about this. They were a real person, so it wasn't a scam. This was a real person, but there was just enough things that kind of lined up that didn't feel like it was maybe going to be the most positive experience. So I just politely said, I don't have time, or this isn't a commission I feel comfortable taking right now. In that sense, I think trusting your gut is huge. So if you have bad vibes about someone, there's nothing wrong with not taking it. So now that all of that business stuff is out of the way, what do I actually think of commissions? Well, I actually quite like them. They are probably one of the more stressful aspects of my business, just because you are making it for someone else. You are making someone else's vision come to life, and that can be a little bit stressful. I find that one of the things I struggle with is I would treat my own artwork that if I ran into a problem, I'd be like, oh, screw it. Like, let's just get creative and like try this and do that. And I don't necessarily feel that freedom with commissions. I feel like I'm more rigid with them, which is my problem, not their problem. So that's something that I need to work on. And ultimately, if people are coming to me, they probably like something about my style that even if I made those decisions, they would still like it. But it's just something that I kind of contend with and struggle with, and it makes them a bit more stressful than just creating my own artwork. The benefit to commissions is that it's money up front. You know what you're going to paint. You know that they're going to pay, hopefully. But if you do everything that I said previously, they will. So it's good money. It's good, consistent money. One of the cons to doing commissions, and this depends on the artist, is what you can do afterwards with it. So when people commission a piece of artwork from me, it's in my contract that I am not going to run prints or necessarily like merchandise and things with their image, because that is their one-of-a-kind piece of artwork. And that's also what they pay for. They are going to pay a higher amount because I'm not using it for prints down the line or other means of selling. Not everyone does that. There's some artists that do run prints off of other commissions, but I would just make that very clear with your customer up front so that, no one's feelings are hurt. But that's how I do it. I keep commissions pretty special, but people also pay for that exclusivity. That's one of the downsides, is that if I do create something that a lot of people like, I can't run prints. Yeah, I kind of like to keep those pretty special. So ultimately, I think commissions are a great thing. I think they need to be done very carefully and in a way that protects you as an artist, but it's a great source of income. It's a great source of meeting people, connecting with new people, and it's honestly so great when someone gets their painting back and it's something that they love and means a lot to them. It's really, really cool to be able to create someone's vision. So ultimately, I'm all for commissions. It can be a really great avenue and aspect of your business. Depending on the year, 60 to 80% of my year is my own artwork, and about 20 to 40% is commission work. And it's just a good balance. It's a balance that works really great for me. Ideally, I think we'd all just like to be creating our own artwork, but my vote is for commissions. Just protect yourself and make sure you're doing it right and everything is a very clear and open communication with your client. So with that, thank you for joining. I hope this was helpful. Let me know, do you do commissions already? Is this something you're going to start doing? What part of the journey are you in? And as always, thank you for joining, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.